All right. Hey, so market wise, it's been kind of interesting to look at. Let me just do one thing. Market wise, it's been really interesting to look at in regards to what the market's doing. People have been asking. I asked another individual who does a lot of business just last week, and I said, "Hey, what do you think this market's going to do?" And he said, I thought I actually knew, and now I actually believe I have no clue. But I say that to you with a little bit of jest. And the fact is that of course, at some level, we know what the market is doing. But in relationship to this market, one of the things I've observed is just simply how you respond to it. And we can talk about rates. We can talk about what the Feds are doing. We can talk about what Jerome Powell is doing. We can talk about a number of different aspects of the market. And excuse me. And yet, you have no control over that. You don't have control over the market. You don't have control over employment. You don't have control over Jerome Powell. You don't have even control of the attorneys, if you would say, or the judge in Missouri with all the NAR stuff that's going on. You don't have any of those things that you have control over. And people often tell me, and they say, "Well, George, man, you sure will double down on all the things you don't have control of?" And it seems like there's no control anywhere. And I would argue that there's a tremendous amount of control. There's a tremendous amount of control in your life in regards to how you see it, how you live it, how you execute upon it, and the things that you do. So as you move through your life in this business specifically, I want to point out that what is treacherous is the fact that people pay attention to all the things they can't control. And the challenge is they're waiting for someone to swoop in and save them. Now, I'm not talking about the type of, let's just even say, business structure where you raise capital and you build something, you create something, you do something. I'm not talking about that type of saving. I'm talking about the saving of, well, I'm just going to hold out until rates go up. I'm going to just hold out until unemployment maybe even goes down worse, which will make rates go up. I'm going to wait to see who the new president is. I'm going to see what it is that these politicians are going to do. Well, what? Maybe religiously. I mean, I'm going to wait and see, what happens with, the wars and the challenges out in our world today, and maybe it's the bitter end. And yet all of these different things, whether they're political, social, religious, in the end of the day, you may have a voice and an opinion in the matter, but in reality, your opinion, your vote, and what you think about it doesn't really have any impact on the things that you can't control. And knowing that, in fact, if you're a fan of Stoicism, if you haven't studied any of that, I would encourage you to do so. Stoicism's interesting. Epictetus, was one of his famous statements was to focus on the things you can control, and in so many words, let go of the things you can't. So unless I don't know something about you, who at least anyone and everyone who's on this call and others that will be here, if you aren't, if unless you are someone who has the ability to control the rates, control the market, control the inventory, control affordability, control either the lack of inventory in certain price ranges, unless you can control sellers, buyers, decision making. The reality is we know we can't. And sometimes we have to wake up that the fact that we keep looking around us for someone else to give us the answer, to give us the solution. And yet, what is so funny to me, just the law of opposites, is that so often we don't want to be told what to do. And yet the reality is in most cases, you already know what to do. And it is to control you. It is to shape the life that you desire because of the decisions that you make, the actions that you take, the story that you tell yourself, the way you execute your day. That's how you change your future. And so, although one could say, gosh, I'm really just trying to get information, there comes a point where there's three fundamentals that I want to focus on today. Here's the first one. The first one is that we as a species are goal oriented. There was the goal to come to America. There was the goal to walk across the plains. There was the goals of, let's just say, throughout history, there's been the goal of religious freedom. Throughout history, there's been wealth goals, abundance goals, health goals. Everything about us is wired from the dawn of time to focus on setting and achieving goals. Now, the challenge is that when we have markets like this, or when we have things that we may not know a lot about, we will refrain from setting a goal or an objective. And we can't be those individuals. We have to take a step forward and recognize that each one of us individually needs and should set goals. And the challenge with setting goals is that there's no question. Some days there's going to be moments where you're disappointed in your achievement of those goals. Sometimes you'll set a goal and you're overwhelmed by those goals. Sometimes you'll set a goal and you're not sure how you're going to accomplish the goal. Sometimes you'll set a goal and realize maybe the goal doesn't mean that much to you, and there's not enough emotion and heart and soul behind the goal. But the fact of the matter is that goals are a critical component to the execution and the success of our lives. Now, I often say it a different way, which is this. I say, in order to make good decisions, you need to know where you're going. Well, that's just another way of saying if you have a goal, decisions are easy. Decisions become easy when we set a goal. And when we then begin to execute upon that goal through our plan and our planning, we then begin to make really solid decisions. So anyone who knows me well enough will know that I get highly frustrated when people pull out what I call the dumb card and they play dumb. They act like they're dumb. They act like they don't know. They're looking for everyone else to give them an answer. If you were to know anything about me, that irritates me. It irritates me because I believe that every single one of you on this call, and those who will listen to it after, every single one of you has the capacity to think, to set a goal, to create a plan, and to execute. And so when we act like we don't know what we're doing, I call BS, little Barbara Streisand. Why? Because I know you know. But the risk of deciding on your goal, creating a masterful plan, and executing upon it, and failing at any of those things. Maybe the goal isn't the right goal. So you're like, oh my goodness, I'm now going to change my goal. Maybe the plan isn't accurate or right or spot on, or just maybe your execution is really not on track. But anywhere of those three areas of goal setting and achievement of it, from the goal, the plan, and the actual execution. And execution, of course, would be the schedule, it would be the attendance, it would be the execution of prospecting, talking to people. It's all of those things. And so when you are in the midst of goals, plans, and execution, give yourself the credit that you are smart enough, that you are wise enough, and that every single answer is already inside of you. Now, I've had a saying I've said for a lot of years, especially when I started doing a lot of speaking, and I would get a little bit nervous and I'd be a little bit afraid, and I'm not quite sure how let's just say the audience might receive what I have to say, or the message I have may not be so clear in my head, and I'm not sure how it will come out. And I would have that anxiety, that fear would be setting in. And I remember I would be doubting myself and wondering if I could do it and questioning my ability, just like anybody, just like anyone. And if you're like me, which I think you are, you have those moments. And you have those moments of doubt, frustration, fear, the unknown. I don't know if I can. Is it going to work out? And you start to realize that can become a real problem. Because what it does is it eliminates the decision-making process. Because it's so scary, you start looking for everybody outside of yourself, and you don't look at yourself. And you don't look at yourself as the solution. So years ago, as I said, I haven't said the statement yet. I said this: I have prepared my whole life for this moment. And you may say, well, what's up with that? Well, look, I'm a person of faith. I believe we're eternal. And I believe that our entire lives, through all eternity, if you would even say, you've been preparing your whole life for these moments. Now, whether that's you prospecting, or whether it's you doing a loan application, or whether that's you doing a great buyer presentation, or some great prospecting, or knocking some doors, calling some sphere, whatever, past clients, whatever it is, just know, your whole life to this point, you've been preparing for these moments. And for me, some reason, when I started to work from that space, this is several years ago, many years ago, probably nearly 20 something years ago, when I started working from that space, everything became better. My decisions became better. But more importantly than my decision is my commitment to the decision. So I'll never forget, it was about 15 years ago, give or take. And on a Sunday afternoon in the winter time, or fall, I should say fall, I went up, I don't know, half a mile, quarter mile, up a mountain. Some of you are aware of it, because we have some visitors on this from out of the country, or out of the state, I'm sorry. And it's called Mount Olympus. And I walked about a quarter to a half a mile up Mount Olympus. I went off the trail and I sat on this big rock, and I looked across the Salt Lake Valley. This is give or take about probably 15 years ago. This fall would probably be pretty accurate. So again, within just a month or so, or whatever it is, to the fall of 15 years ago. And I stood on this big rock. I mean, it's as big as this. Some of you have been in the big boardroom here on the first floor, and it was almost as big as it seems as this table, and then some. And I stood up and I looked over the Salt Lake Valley, and I spoke to myself. And what I spoke were something like this. They were these words. I started talking, well, they were these words, and I paused for a second, because I said a lot of things that day. And I mean that. I said a lot of things, tons of things, because I was speaking to myself. And I talked about the dominance that our company would have. Now, mind you, we probably had 15 agents. And I talked out loud of the dominance of what Everest would become. And I would look from one point of the mountain to as far as I could past, downtown Salt Lake City, to where the mountain starts to curve around up to Bountiful. And I demanded of myself my greatest work. Now, these guys were in some of the most darkest moments of my life. They were in some of the most darkest moments, for certain, economically. It's when I was having some major, major electrical issues with my heart. It was when, of course, when you put that type of economic pressure, those type of health pressures, as any of you know who have any type of an intimate partner, or who've had one or have one now, that puts a lot of pressure on a relationship, on a family, when you're under that type of duress with your health and your finances, and the market had crashed. I mean, we're talking right back in 07, 8, 9s. Guys, those are big time times where things were very challenging, as there are some challenges today. And so as I stood on that rock, I declared a handful of things. And what I was really declaring, and why I'm sharing this with you, is because some of you have not really set in stone what it is that you're going to do, how many deals you're going to do, how many families will you help, how much money will you actually earn. And you will maybe flippantly, or maybe just casually, which creates casualties, by the way, casualness creates casualties, state money you want to earn, or deals you want to do, or transactions you want to have, or loans you may want to close. And you will be so nonchalant, so no big deal. So, well, if it happens, that's great. But you can tell that if it doesn't, that's not that big of a deal either. Well, that wasn't the day for me. That day, on the mountainside of Mount Olympus that overlooks the entire Salt Lake Valley / county was a different message to myself. It was a demand upon myself to bring the greatest version of myself, the greatest abilities of myself, the greatest thinking, the greatest feelings, the greatest execution, the greatest disciplines. And so all of a sudden, as I stood on that rock, and I have to tell you that I could really feel the vibration within myself of the seriousness of my declaration, the commitment to who I needed to become, the commitment to my leadership, the commitment to those that I train, help, and educate and lift up. All of these things rolled into those moments, that moment, as to the demands of who I'm going to become, what I'm going to do, that I would not allow anything to alter my path, no matter how good, no matter how great, no matter how flashy the other thing over maybe across the room was. I wasn't going to pay attention to it. I was going to stay my course. Well, guys, in a short period of time, in less than 6 years, with my declaration of $100 million company in revenue and 1,000 agents, it all occurred within 6 years. Now, you may say 6 years. Holy cow, man, that took a long time. Really? In fairness, how many of you plan to be in real estate in the next 6 years? And what if today became the defining moment when you actually decided, and instead of living in fear and the what ifs, and what if it doesn't work out, and well, what if I don't sell enough real estate, or what if I don't do enough loans, or what if I'm trying to do just doesn't simply work out? What if? But what if it did? And what if you went all the way to the top of all of this and you really said to yourself, man, no matter what happens, I'm going to go forward. And if I go down, I'm going to go with my fists swirling, haymakers and roundhouses and roundhouse kicks. I mean, it's all happening. If I'm not going to make it, I'm going to go down with the greatest fight in real estate history. Well, here's what I can promise you. You won't go down, because I can promise you, in the darkest moments of building Everest, in the darkest moments I've ever had economically in real estate or in just economics, no matter what, things came together and worked out. And they worked out in such a positive way, not just because I was flippant and said, well, I'd really like this as long as I don't have to work really hard. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that some of you are continuing to live in such fear that you can't get past even setting a goal. And that is tragic, because goal setting is fundamental to great business and great leadership in business. So set a goal, get really clear, decisive, make a decision, decide what you want. Now, some of you have, and some of you haven't heard me say this, but I'll say it, I'm sure, forever. But when you make a decision, you have cut off and eliminated any other option, meaning the root of decision is incision, to cut off. When you've made a decision, or when you've decided, or you decide, well, what is the root of decide? CIDE. It means to eliminate, exterminate. So words like genocide, homicide, suicide, insecticide, all have one thing in common: to kill off, to eliminate any other option. So when you've made a decision, you have cut off. When you have decided, you have killed off any other option. And the challenge is that when we live in fear, doubt, depression, sadness, and in the moments of fear, you may say, well, George, you don't understand. Oh, yes, I do understand. Life is scary. Life can be overwhelmingly discouraging at times, but that doesn't mean you need to stay there. What it means is you take a step back and recognize where you are. And when you're lost, you first recognize, just like a good scout, when you're in the middle of the woods and you're lost, you first say, whoa, time out. I better figure out where I am. And you start looking at the sun and the shadows, and you start realizing, wait, am I north, south, east, west? Which way am I walking? I'm lost. And when you're lost, stop for just a moment and look around and find out and figure out where you are. Be honest with what you're doing if you're not prospecting. Be honest with your lack of commitment. Be honest with the fact that you've never really set a goal. Be honest with yourself that you haven't really committed to your path because of the fear of the what if it doesn't work out? Everything I've ever achieved that has been good, I doubted it for a moment. And then I got serious about my commitment and I made a decision. I decided as to what I was going to earn, decided what I was going to become, decided what the company was going to look like. I decided. And that is not an isolated event, because I can give you over and over again examples of it personally, but it's not just a one-off event for me or others that you may say, well, wow, look what they may have achieved or accomplished or become. It's not just them. It can be you, but you first got to set the goal. You got to make the decision as to where you're heading so that your decisions can be wise, so that you can get clear on the outcome. And hey, it doesn't mean you can't change the goal, but I would encourage you not to change it for 90 days. Take a step back, look around, see if it's the right goal. But what often happens is people change their goals first and foremost, just like all the greats have talked about, from Zig Ziglar to Tony Robbins to Jim Rohn to Les Brown to Napoleon Hill. Before you change your goal, deals you want to do, income you want to earn, success you want to have, before you change the goal, change the approach that you're making. Because look, how you go about this business, the mechanisms of your plan, the schedule that you have, the activities that you take in, the way in which you approach your business should be the first thing you should look at changing, not the actual goal. And the problem is we get into the habit of, well, that approach didn't work, so I better lower my expectations so that I can feel good today because, well, I want to feel good even if I'm losing at real estate. And you may say, man, that's pretty harsh. It's not harsh. It's the truth. If you're losing at real estate or losing at lending or losing at any part of your life, just acknowledge it if you're lost or where you stand or where you are and say, okay, I'm losing. And you say, well, that doesn't sound real positive. Oh, it's really positive, because what you're positive about is accepting what reality is today, but then declaring where you will be the next day. And that declaration of truth, decision, goal, purpose, whatever you want to call it, all of a sudden it becomes your driving force to achieve anything that you want. Some of you believe that if you just get the right script, it's all going to be okay. That could not be more ridiculous of anything I've ever heard in my life. Yes, scripts and dialogues are good. In fact, they're important, I'll even say. But they are not the thread that connects you to your purpose and what drives you to your dreams and to your goals. That is independent of all of those things. So as you move through your career, your life, maybe more importantly said, take a step back and figure out where you are. Are you lost? Are you losing? Are you not achieving? Are you not accomplishing? I would just challenge you with the idea that figuring out where you are is part of figuring out where you want to go. So remember, knowing where you are is a critical component to figuring out where you want to go. Once you figure out where you are, you define where you want to go. Now, in the tremendously beautiful words of Les Brown, who said these words, he said, "How is none of your business? How is none of your business?" Now, what he means by that is that people will set goals and then they will filter through them and then lower their expectations, lower their goals because they haven't yet figured out how to achieve their goals. So, one of the great tragedies of humanity, again, is changing and lowering the goal, the expectations of their life and their business before they get serious about figuring out how. So, in proper order, you set the goal. In proper order, you make a plan for that goal. Now, there is no building of any substance, I should say, or any house or commercial building or warehouse or plane or car or bridge or road, nothing, nada, nothing gets achieved without a plan. So I would challenge you with the idea how critical it is that you have a plan, that that plan begins to take you to those next levels. So imagine you have a goal, now you have a plan, then you move from the goal, the plan, to a place of execution. Now, that place of execution, I almost said it, and I didn't say, I wanted to put it as a subset to this, but our execution really revolves around two key things. It revolves around our disciplines and our accountability. That's where we execute. The discipline to execute, the accountability that when we don't feel like executing, we do anyway because we're accountable to ourselves and to others. But I just want to point out when I talk about don't play the stupid card. And I say that because every one of you are so bright and intelligent. You know that if you set the goal, if you begin to create the plan and you execute, good things will happen. Now, do you need to control your mindset? Yes. Do you need to control your activity? Yes. Do you need to elevate your skills with scripts and dialogues and communication skills? Of course you do. But the real issue is just simply not deciding a goal, creating a plan, and doing your best to execute upon that with your discipline and your accountability. So look, you're never going to convince me, especially if we sat in a private room together and we were alone, that I would not call you on what I would consider that bullcrap. Let's just leave it at that. That you can't achieve, that you're not achieving, you're not accomplishing, you're not having it all, you're not doing deals, you're not closing loans, you're not closing real estate deals, you're not taking listings. It's all a lie. That it's a market issue. It's a lie that it is a inventory affordability issue, because there are agents in this company specifically that are having the best years of their life. Most money they've ever earned in their life. And then we have people who can't do a deal. We have people who can't get things to happen. They never will happen until you set the goal, craft and create the plan that aligns with the goal, and then execute with the greatest amount of precision on your disciplines and your accountabilities on what that plan says. That's how homes are built. That's how buildings are built. That's how cars are built. That's how bridges are built. There's a plan and someone executes. And nothing, as you can imagine, right, is more frustrating to a homeowner or future homeowner who's having a home built where a subcontractor or contractor is not showing up, not executing the way that they should. And all of a sudden, the experience for that home builder or someone's building the home, not the home builder dropping the ball, nothing's more frustrating to a client. We've all had it. Someone not executing. And I'm not suggesting I execute to perfection. What I'm suggesting is that that is the recipe for execution to work. Know where you're going, the goal, have a plan that you write out, you structure to the best of your ability with your coaches, your mentors, your trainers, your managers, the leadership, and you find the plan and you dial it in, and then you begin the activity of execution. But don't for a second think I'm going to give you sympathy for thinking you can't figure it out, or thinking that you can turn all of your life over to someone else who's supposed to figure it out for you, a coach, a trainer, a manager, a leader, a spouse, a wife, a husband, a partner, thinking, oh, well, I'll let them figure it out. Give yourself the credit that you are smarter than you might think you are, that you are more brilliant than you probably think you are. You can achieve more than you think you can. You can accomplish more than you think you can, and that you are better than you think you are or can be. That's the deal. So stop playing the dumb card. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm hoping business. I just wish it was. Maybe it might be. Oh, if it only could be. Stop all that garbage. It's not true. It's a lie to just make you feel good. It's a lie to just make you feel good about not doing anything. It's a lie for you to believe in that says, well, wait, other people are doing the same thing. This isn't about other people. It's about you, not me. It's about you. It's about you accomplishing, you achieving, you becoming your best version of you becoming the best communicator, you becoming the best prospector, you. So here's my final thoughts to you. Stop turning over your future to other people and what they have to only say. I am honored that you are part of this call and those who will listen to it later. But in the end of the day, you are the captain of your ship. You are the admiral of your vessel. You are the captain of your life. And so often we will turn it over to politicians, to other religious leaders. We'll turn it over even to God and say, well, yeah, I got to turn it over to God. Jesus, take the wheel kind of stuff. It's like, whoa, hold on. Part of that's your responsibility. Part of it is you doing what you're supposed to be doing, you executing to the best of your ability. Now, this isn't a message about necessarily faith, but I can tell you that I'm a big believer in the sense of you can just ask, and then think somehow you're going to receive something that's good. And I would argue that what most people do is, and I'll close with these last few thoughts here, but you ask and then you go, oh, complain, moan, doubt, struggle, fear, depression, sadness. I don't know. Oh gosh, it's probably not going to work out. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm not sure, but I'm going to keep asking, but I'm going to keep doubting. Oh, and then think you should receive. Have you lost your mind? Probably have if you think that. Or you're not thinking, you're not conscious, you're completely asleep at the wheel. Why? Because you have to be paying attention. And the attention that you should be paying towards it is this. Ask and move calmly and confidently towards your destination and receive. It's not ask, complain, whine, bitch, moan, hope it works out. Maybe it might, maybe it won't. Hopefully, not complain enough, not doubt enough. Hopefully, markets shape, rates go down, maybe, and then receive. That's not how this works. From the dawn of time, from every spiritual, magical, mystical leader on earth that's ever existed has simply said, if you want something, wrap a little bit of emotion around it, which would be, by the way, would be desire. I desire you means I want something and I emotionalize something. So I desire you. Oh, and then believe it's going to actually happen. So desire wrapped with emotion and a fixation on a target, and believe, and then receive. Shocking. And people go, miracle. Well, probably is, I guess. The miracle is the fact that you didn't doubt, complain, whine. The miracle is that you actually believed and didn't doubt. The miracle is you wrapped some awesome emotion, heart, soul, and energy around something you actually wanted instead of acting like you didn't care, acting like you don't want something, acting like nothing matters. You wrapped it around all of this emotion, all of this belief. Then you started actually moving towards it by the way you executed your life, the actions you took, and you received. You went, miracle. Well, yeah, probably, I guess. But I don't think the miracle is in the receiving. I think the miracle is in the fact that you stopped doubting. That's the miracle. Because everyone does. So if you want something, get clear on it. You want something, create a plan for it. You want something, execute. And see what attracts into your life. See how much money you could earn, how many great relationships you'll create, who will be by your side, how much of a difference could you make, right? How good could your health get? How deep and meaningful could the relationships get? Because the real miracle isn't the fact of receiving. The real miracle is the act of not doubting and eliminating fear from your life and moving straight to your target with no resistance. Hence why so many people have talked about the law of action, the law of attraction, ask ye shall receive. All of these different plays on this is simply to eliminate the doubt, the fear, the anxiety, so that you move towards your destination with power, strength, and force, a force to receive all that you desire. And so when I say that real estate or lending is the easiest part of this game, it is. There's not one of you who doesn't know how to write a contract. If you didn't, go talk to Russ or Jason or one of the other awesome brokers from here to St. George and Layton. That's not the issue. It's not, well, the rates. That's not the issue. Oh, well, our president, not the issue. Just gives you a reason to feel good for not achieving what you're supposed to be. So I would challenge you again to live the life you're destined to live, a purposeful life with goals, plans, and execution, with discipline and accountability aligned with that execution, and you will have everything you want in business and in your personal life. You may say, well, George, this sounds so easy. Yeah, I know, it sounds easy. When you talk like that, it sounds easy. But I would challenge you to create the habits, the disciplines, and the process that's necessary to have everything you want. Don't give up. Don't quit. Your best days are ahead. Imagine the great story that you'll be able to tell, not only yourself, but your children, the people you love, other agents, the journey that you took yourself upon to become the greatest version, the best version, the most amazing version of you. That's the journey you're on. I'm not in real estate just so I can make money. You say, oh, come on, George. You say whatever you want. There's lots of things I could do to just go make money. Heavens, I could just go coach and make $1 million a year. That's not about the money. The great reward is who do you get to become in the process? That's the legacy you live and leave for others as you're gone. It is the future of eternity of who you become in my world. That's all that matters. And yet, you say real estate's hard. No, what's hard is working on your mind, your heart, and the actions you're supposed to take. That is what becomes the challenge. But I promise you, I've said it in almost every daily message I do. There is nothing you cannot learn. There is nothing you cannot do. So go live the greatest version of you. Go become the greatest version of what's possible for you and see what happens. Aren't you curious? Don't you just want to know? Aren't you interested to know what you could become? Like what is actually possible? Or are you going to be, again, that guy or that gal who complains, whines, moans, and hopes for a better market, or realizes that the refinement of oneself is the ultimate market? And you refine that, rest is history. Look, I reiterate, and now I'm officially closing. We got to go. I'm not suggesting, again, any of this is easy. I'm not suggesting that I haven't made tremendous mistakes in that journey. I'm not suggesting that I have it all figured out. I'm not suggesting I'm perfect. I'm not suggesting that I have more than you figured out. But I am suggesting that when I execute to the best of my abilities with my goals and plans, miracles occur. And you are no different. Because I have seen moments from each one of you, if I know you well and have been around you long enough, the ones I have seen miracles occur in your life. And again, I think the ultimate miracle is you eliminating all the doubt, fear, and anxiety. Because if you come forth with your greatest version of you, there's nothing you can't achieve. Real estate and lending is the easy part. Who you become is the real work. Remember, Jim Rohn, the late Jim Rohn, was asked by his mentor. He said, Jim, his mentor was Earl Shoaff, and his mentor said to him, Earl said, Jim, at breakfast one day, you should go earn $1 million. Jim says, I really like the sound of that. But Earl, I'm curious. What's important about $1 million? And Earl responded with, oh, Jim, it's not the $1 million. $1 million isn't even important. It's who you have to become to earn $1 million. That's the great reward. Now, here's the deal. You become more, you earn more. That's how it works. You become more of a better leader, more of a better communicator, more of a better prospector, more of reaching out, more confident, more strong, more talented, more skilled, more mentally tough, more confident, more systemized, more. You will earn more. But the great challenge is you, not this market. So if you overcome yourself, you will overcome anything in this market. Guys, I hope you know that oftentimes I can be very passionate. I can often be very direct. But I also hope you know how much I care and how much I love you. And, maybe there's days I should maybe just tone it down a hair. Maybe. Not totally convinced I should. Maybe. But what I can tell you is I may not always have the perfect approach either. But I can promise you one thing, my commitment to not only this company, what is the company? It is you, is of my highest regard. It is the most important thing that I do. Aside from the work within my own home, that makes sense, my own children, my wife, it's you guys. And I want the best for you. And I want you to become the best version of you. I want you to be able to look upon the journey within the walls of Everest and Inspiro, that you look upon it and go, man, these were some of the greatest moments of my life. I refined myself here. We are a personal development company that happens to sell real estate. Remember, a personal development company that happens to sell real estate. So become the best version of you for yourself, for your spouse or partner, for your children, for your legacy, and for the eternities would be my opinion. It's worth it. And none of us are done. Every day this big globe bounces in the middle of this solar system, we get one more moment to work on that, to become the best version of us. Okay, love you guys. Have an amazing week. Great job on starting strong. Now make sure you finish strong. All right, talk to you later, guys.